Thank you for coming in today and expressing your client's main concerns regarding the shipment of the bottles. We really appreciate understanding your client's viewpoint. And while my client, Booz, does not deny that Luz has made a rightful and effective rejection of the non-conforming goods, the broken bottles, my client maintains that under UC Section 2-508, a right to cure still exists. Now, your client pointed out that one option to cure under UCC Section 2-508 is when there is still time remaining to perform under the client. And your client offered to receive conforming goods as long as they were received by the first of the month, and actually extended the time to receive them as long as they were there by the second of the month, which is when the party was. Now, while your client gave this option to cure, my client believes there's a second option to the right to cure that exists. And this option is provided under Section 2-508, subsection 2. Under this section, where the buyer rejects non-conforming tender, which the seller have reasonable grounds to believe would be accepted, the seller may, if he seasonably notifies the buyer, have a further reasonable time to substitute a conforming tender. Comment 2 of this section provides even further clarity regarding what constitutes reasonable grounds for that belief by stating reasonable grounds can lie in prior course of dealing, course of performance, or usage of trade. And it's this last category of usage of trade that my client bases their reasonable grounds for belief in that the goods would have been accepted. Now, as I understand from the facts, your client received the goods. They notified my client that some of the bottles were broken during shipment, and my client then seasonably notified your client that they were going to exercise their right to cure by sending replacement bottles. Now, your client, in their rejection, stated they didn't want any of the shipment, but were rejecting the whole lot. Now, in this case, my client reasonably believed the goods would be accepted under the usage of trade in the industry, which recognized breakage constituting less than 1% of the total bottles is standard. Because my client reasonably believed that the shipment would be accepted as long as the breakage did not exceed the industry standard, the UCC allows my client further reasonable time to substitute conforming tender. Now, as merchants, both of our clients should have recognized that some breakage during shipment would occur. We're dealing with glass bottles, and even the most carefully packed glass bottles can be broken where shippers are not careful in handling of a package or handling of a lot. And so that's what happened here. And that's why there is this usage of trade in the industry that allows for this 1% of breakage as standard. However, this doesn't negate that right to cure. My client still seasonably notified your client that they wanted to cure and that the cure would be provided by offering to replace any broken bottle, and doing so within a reasonable time. They were going to deliver replacement bottles only 4 days after the delivery time in the contract. And my client, in complying with this replacement, was allowed that further reasonable time under the UCC, and 4 days is a reasonable time for that further time that's allowed. However, in order to foster a spirit of cooperation, my client would be willing to refund your client for the cost of each bottle broken. We understand that you were planning to sell all the bottles at your party, and we're going to gain a profit on all of them. So we think that it would be a cure to go ahead and refund your client for the cost of each bottle that was broken, as if we had purchased them that night. Now, in the alternative, because your client is a hipster bar that's most likely open on a daily basis, my client would be willing to send a complimentary case of wine, which your client could use and sell in the business whenever it's open. Now, that case of wine is 2 times the number of bottles broken, and because that case contains 24 bottles, and so we think that would be an acceptable cure. So please take some time to consider this offer and let us know if either of these options would meet your client's needs and would satisfy the cure. And we really would like to continue working with your client, and we hope that these different options might be a way to mend this so that we can move on and be business partners in the future. Thank you.